Hello friends, I just wanted to speak quickly about, I saw it on the internet, right? What am I talking about? I'm talking about when you're trying to get your head around a subject, it's usually one that's controversial. I mean, most of them are on the internet, right? And you're kind of making your mind up, and maybe you leave a comment on a post or a blog or a YouTube video or something, and then right underneath you someone shoots in and they're like, oh no, that's not true. What it is, it's this and this, right? And it can be quite disheartening, and it can put you kind of on the back foot, and you're thinking, maybe I thought what I thought, maybe I'm wrong, you know. And I just wanted to talk a little about this because there's a massive difference between people who just repeat stuff that they see and people who understand stuff that they see. And by see, I'm talking about seeing or reading now. And it's because the majority of people, they live in the left side of their brain. If you want to get a bit clever about it, when they talk about, was it Adam and Eve, they went east of Eden. So they went to the east side of paradise. That's an esoteric way of explaining how many people live in the left side of the brain. It's the brain that is more functional, right? It's the brain that likes to be told what to do. It likes to carry out a program. It likes to have a plan. It likes to have routine. It doesn't like to kind of think outside the box, right? Then you have the right people that can use the right side of their brain, and it's not something that is just given to you at birth. It's something that you develop, right? It's also a little bit like your third eye, if you understand what I mean. You have people that use the right hand side of their brain, and the more you educate yourself and the more you research and the more you read stuff online, the more you develop this ability to see between the lines in a situation and to use your full, not just your full brain power, but also like this third sense that will tell you what's what in a situation without having to make your mind up just on the facts as they are on the page, right? So let's just give you an example. And I'm not trying to be conspiratorial here, although it's absolutely fine to have an interest in these things, because obviously conspiracies are going on every day, right? I think if you look at these wars that kick off, generally at least two people have conspired to instigate this war, because they know how much money they're going to make by selling the bombs, the bullets and the guns, by feeding the troops, by supplying their uniforms, by washing their uniforms, by controlling the oil flow of a country, by establishing military power, right? So you can see immediately, whatever the reason for going to war, there's people already conspiring behind the scenes to go in and capitalize. So don't think conspiracies don't happen, because two people sat in a room deciding how to rob a bank is a conspiracy, right? But anyway, not here to talk about that, but just take the moon landings. This causes a lot of controversy, and it really needn't. You see, you've got your left brainers that will just be, oh, well, I don't believe in the moon landing because the flag moved or the shadow didn't move in the right place. And all they're doing is repeating information. And of course, you can apply logic to some of that information. That's for sure. but you don't always know who's supplying that information, right? And then you've got someone on the other side of the argument, or the other side of the coin, again, a brain person saying, oh, well, that's been debunked because I saw this on this website and I read this and it's nonsense. I mean, how many people would have to be in on the conspiracy for it to work? Da, 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 da. And then you get your right brainers, the people that are opening up their third eye, that are starting to see stuff in the world that they've been missing all their life, right? I don't know if you call it red pilled or green pilled, for the reference from the Matrix, right? What I mean is, I never know, is it the green pill or the red? I think it's the red, right? It's this kind of thing. This is the stuff that I started, this is the path that I went down when I went through addiction, because when you go through addiction, you suddenly see what a fake world it is we live in, and how shallow so many people are, and how most people don't own their own minds. So the esoterically minded person will sit down and say, right, first off, like, who stands to gain? That's the question you should all, who stands to gain? In this example, remember guys, it's just an example, but who stands to gain by going to the moon? Well, think, most things are done about power, aren't they? So I would be asking the question, who runs NASA? What education did they have? I.e., what school? Did they go to Ivy League schools? What Masonic societies do they belong to? Because you've got to remember, and I mean this no disrespect if you're a Mason, you're watching this, you know, you live your life, I'll live mine, right? But you've got to remember that when you belong to one of these fraternities, brotherhoods, secret societies, you're not pledging allegiance to the general public. You're pledging allegiance to your brotherhood, right? And so I'd be asking, what level of Freemasons were the astronauts involved? I'd be asking, how much funding have NASA subsequently got after claiming to have landed on the moon? I'd be asking, how gullible are the public, and how for how many years going back, and I think you'll find we're talking most of human history, of human beings being that gullible that they will pretty much believe anything if they think it's coming from some sort of authority figure. I'd be asking, have leaders, rulers, since probably way back before the times of the pyramids, been looking at their population, probably thinking that they're above the population? Does this start to ring bells? And thinking, do you know what? If we just tell them there's a big monster in the sky, and if they don't do what we say, because we've got a direct line to that monster, they're going to die a horrible death. You know? If we keep them, what about if we chop 5 of their heads off a week, and when we drink their blood, is that going to keep them scared? Yeah. You see, it's really easy to control human behavior. And if this isn't making sense to you, read the book 1984. Probably going to cost you like £1 or $1 on Amazon, right? And that George Orwell, whose real name, as I'm sure you know, was Eric Blair, he was either a real visionary, or he had massive insight into what was happening in the world, because he predicted everything that's taking place now, albeit maybe with a slightly different spin. But he predicted how the language would be controlled. Remember I'm always saying how everyone's starting to say past instead of died. it's like a weird phenomena that everyone just starts saying it. And it's not, I'm not talking about a word here. People can talk how they like, of course they can. No, what I'm saying is think of the psychological agenda that's attached to people who are now scared to use certain words, like death, like pussyfooting around when we're talking about race or sex or this kind of thing, because we're so afraid we might offend someone, when in actual fact the people that might be offended don't really give a damn. It's more the public outrage and the attacks you will come under in the media and in the social media, right? So these are all the, sorry, gone off a bit of a tangent, but these are all the things you need to be considering. But George Orwell, he just wrote about mind control, how easy it is to control the population. I mean, how many people just will believe what they see on television? They just take it as gospel. Half the time, they will believe stuff that isn't even accurate. I mean, for example, when the Twin Towers came down, how many people think they saw that first plane crash, when in actual fact it was never on the television? I think there's only actually one recording of it, right? So these are all the factors that when you develop your thinking, you start to look at. You're not talking about flags waving and shadows on the thing and how many people at NASA would have to keep us. I mean, all that comes into it, don't get me wrong. And you can obviously use logic, like what technology did they have back in the 60s, right? I mean, it kind of gives it away. They had like the technology of a calculator. Computers were really, really new. And if you had any kind of decent computer, it would probably be the size of a public library, right? You've got all that. And again, I'm not trying to, this isn't about whether we've landed on the moon or not. I know what I think, but that's because I understand human behavior, right? And I understand power and greed and money. I'm willing to look at things like how what's the budget of NASA? Is it millions every day? It's an absolute ridiculously phenomenal amount, right? And when you start to put this stuff together, then you start to see another language being spoken within this kind of debate or within this subject. For example, some of you will understand, recently they brought out a photograph and they said, this is a photograph to prove we've been to the moon, because you can see the lunar landing buggy, it's still up there, right? And what latitude of the moon was that buggy on? It don't quote me on this, but they had to get 33 into that article. And if you understand terrorism, then you know 33 is like a really important number, right? Numerology, again, I mean, how many of the public understand numerology? Whereas, there's a lot of people on this planet live their life by that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, I just wanted to say that don't be put off when you're learning new stuff. When someone comes below you in a comment thing, I mean, I don't even waste my time making comments, and they go, oh no, I read it in a magazine that da-da-da-da. What they don't know is there's so many agendas in the world, and there's so much funding for these agendas, right? For example, the word conspiracy theorist was brought out by CIA operatives to discredit anybody that questioned the JFK assassination, to make them look like kind of loony tinfoil hat wearing people, so that they wouldn't expose the truth. Subsequently, all these films that you see that provide some utterly nonsense theory that Lee Harvey Oswald shot the president, right? And he fired all these rounds that have been proved by trained snipers. Like, again, I'm not getting into this conspiracy here, guys. I'm just saying that all the films and the movies you've watched on it are all backed by the what you might hear referred to as shadow government, darker elements in the CIA, the same people that were flooding the United States with cocaine, which was being turned into crack cocaine. They were getting it from Nicaragua, shipping it out from Nicaragua, while they were funding the Contra rebels down there. So when you're seeing websites and stuff and they completely dismiss, oh, the alkaline diet, that's a load of rubbish. You see what it is, the human beings, they can eat anything. They can drink petrol and they can eat bricks because it's like, fuck off. You fucking left brain, non-thinking moron. All you're doing is just repeating what you've read on a website, and you don't even know who owns that website, who funds it. And you got to remember, the people that keep you controlled and steal your happiness, they are multi-billionaires. Money isn't the issue for them. They don't care about that. They care about power. They care about, greatness. And that goes much deeper and much darker as well. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. I think I've covered it. It's just, I get disheartened when I see someone learning the truth and then someone shoots in, oh well, yeah, I agree with so and so on this subject, but I don't agree with it, and it's yeah, it can be disheartening, and you've got to get to use your third eye to really not let these kind of viewpoints affect your thinking, right? Okay. Cheers.